Now that we have it roughed out, hewed, the next thing to do is use the drill knife. Now there are many different types of drill knives. I have a couple here. This one's one I forged. This one has a very interesting shape. This one is probably your most common type. A slight sweeping blade, although there are some that are perfectly straight. Now, personally, I think drill knives are one of the best tools you can have. And I think if you master them, they can be one of the most efficient tools. But the key is, with any hand tool, chisel, plane, drill knife, make it sharp. So, I'm going to spend some time on the diamond stone. I already have, but really honing it down. Now, on this end, you want it to be flat. And then on the other end, you want to work up a good edge. Now, drill knives work best with a shaving bench, which I'm going to show you in a minute. But you don't necessarily need to have a shaving bench. You can, in fact, do work with just a normal vise. Now, here's where the blade's going to be. So I'm going to put it halfway through. And, okay, right now I want to take some wood off this top edge. Now there's a couple different ways to use the drill knife. You can use it bevel up, bevel down, or as a scraper. Now, bevel down is generally what you're going to, or bevel up is generally what you're going to use for the roughing. So you see, I can quickly start taking wood off in a very controlled manner. And I'm peeling the grain, which is going to give me the strongest results. So now the drill knife pairs great with a shaving bench. Now these are something that you can make yourself, or I'm sure you can buy them, or you can probably find antique ones at farm sales and stuff like that. But essentially, you have this head and this foot pedal that you press down. This is pressing on your work. What's nice about this is if I want to rotate my work quickly, I can work something down very easily by moving the work. Again, this is a lot convenient, but again, you don't need it if all you have is a vise, or you could probably get away with C-clamping it to the table if need be. So I can then just do the same thing though, and you don't want to be taking, the steeper angle, the deeper cut you're going to make. A handful of light cuts are often better than one cut. Now in this stage, what my goal is going to be is to get that handle started down, this thing. So I'm going to work the back down a little bit. So as you can see, I'm kind of getting that teardrop shape formed. And now I can kind of look where I need to take the wood off of it. Oh, and if you burn with a wood stove, these dry hickory shavings or ash or whatever wood locust shavings make for great fire starting, so get a can to save them. Now once you get it to where, now you can see it's starting to go on, I can tap on it a little bit and then tap it off, and I'm able to see where it's rubbing. And it especially works good if your tomahawk's not perfectly clean. And that gives me rub marks, so I will then go through and take it off. Now at this point I have a little trick. I will flip it bevel down, and that allows me to take much finer cuts instead of the big roughing cuts. Giving me a lot of control. And I can see how that's fitting in there. And just look for those rub marks, and that's what I shave. Now that I have a rough idea of the thickness of the handle, I can kind of use that as a gauge to rough some of the rest of this down. By taking some bigger cuts. I don't want to go too crazy here, but I can get some wood off. Now when you are making your first one, I would recommend going slow. Do not get too crazy roughing stuff out, because remember, you can always take wood off. But in this case, putting it on can be not the easiest. So one thing to keep in mind, now I'm getting this roughed out, but you want to make sure it is straight, you know, that you're not getting a bow. And when picking the grain, you want to make sure the grain doesn't have too much bow. Now, I personally sometimes like a little bow this way, you know, tip down, but I want to make sure I'm keeping it as straight as possible, even as I rough it down to roughly that diameter. So, now that I got the rough shape done, I got it rough, but still plenty large up top. Now is to the part where I'm going to start getting the handle really shaped in there. So what I'll do is I have here just a pipe sticking up on a wooden base that I can tap into. I will tap this a little bit till it binds up, and then I'll tap it off. And that will give me some good rub marks to work off of. And now that I have those rub marks, now this is the slow part. I'm going to slowly just work those rub marks, nothing else, a little bit above it. I'm going to avoid down here, so basically the wood right above the rub marks and the rub marks themselves. And then after that, I'll repeat. I'm getting up a little bit farther. And I'll basically do what I just did and keep repeating this till the head gets to the length I want. Now, if you're wondering, why aren't I just taking a big old rasp and hogging this material away? Well, that's because a rasp is cutting against the grain. With a draw knife, I'm peeling the grain. You know, by peeling the grain away instead of cutting it, I can make a stronger axe because I'm going to have more grain going from one end of the axe to the other. You know, I run the risk with a rasp. You could probably do it if you're really watching it, of cutting, making cross grain where it's going to split out. You know, if you have grain going like this, it's going to break there. Well, if you have grain from one end to the other, it'll be very solid. So once you get the head close to where you want it, now I'm looking at the old handle, which is 18 inches long. As you can see, I could in theory have it here, but I want a little bit tighter fit here. I will now start using the rasp. Now this has been shaved down close enough to dimensions that I know I'm going to have good grain throughout.